turn to Sally now, because, of course, what Kemi Badenoch was asking about was the costs that are being piled not just on businesses, but also on places like hospices, because of the cost of employment. Ken from Salisbury has written in. He said, Starmer says he's delivered a wage rise for the low paid, but it's the employer who is delivering the rise, and that will mean higher unemployment, says Ken. It is true, isn't it, that if you keep pushing up low wages, I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. It comes out of businesses.
I mean, I wouldn't say there's evidence to suggest that it's increasing unemployment. And what I would say is that, you know, as a local MP and as someone that was a candidate before the election, when I went to food banks around Doncaster, the volunteers there would tell me that a large chunk of the people attending were in work, and in-work poverty is a massive problem in this country. And so I will not apologise that this Labour government has raised the minimum wage to lift people out of poverty and, importantly, to lift children out of poverty.
But Keir Starmer couldn't answer Kemi Badenoch in those first questions about the hospices that are now worrying about whether or not they're going to have to let people go. Not just because the minimum wage is going up, but because the tax on employment has gone up. The national insurance that hospices have to pay for the people that work in them, particularly for the lowest paid, that is putting the cost of employment higher and higher and higher.
Well, I think Keir did answer it in saying that £100 million is being given to the hospice sector to support them. But I think it's also important
for infrastructure, not for wages.
But I think it's also important to note that because of the mess we inherited, and because Rachel Reeves had to take quick action to save our economy, decisions were made in order to support our public services. And Keir Starmer was right in saying to Kemi, what would she do differently? Where would we get the £23 billion to invest in the NHS? And that answer is never there.
And that's a fair question, isn't it, Joe Robertson?
Yes,
if you oppose the increase in national insurance contributions, where would you get the money?
Scrap GB Energy that's not going to produce any energy. Don't give away £9 billion in return for also giving away the Chagos Islands. I mean, I can come up with a whole list of billions of pounds I wouldn't be spending.
Do you celebrate the rise in the minimum wage?
So the problem employers have is a triple whammy, right? So yeah, of course I support minimum wage and minimum wage going up. But at the same time, there's the Employment Rights Bill, which puts a whole load of pressure on employers, particularly bureaucratic pressures, and at the same time, national insurance increases for employers. So it's a triple whammy on employers, and they're the people who will grow the economy. The reason we're having an emergency budget next week, of course, is because the Chancellor's stalled the economy.
Well, you've teed us off perfectly, because this time next week, we won't have our usual PMQs programme after PMQs. There will be that fiscal statement. If you're a Conservative, you might call it an emergency budget. If you're the Labour Party, you'd say it's an OPR update.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Joe. You've been watching and listening to PMQs Live